Introduction. Americans are avid consumers of self-help literature that promises the formula for success, only to be disappointed by trite statements or well-known advice that goes unheeded. The life stories of renowned individuals often fail to inspire because they lack a relatable human touch, making the narrative feel distant and inaccessible. However, Benjamin Franklin's autobiography offers more than just an account of his existence. It's the captivating narrative of a remarkable individual whose thoughts and actions provide companionship for those facing challenges, much like the guidance from a wise and supportive friend. Written for his descendants, Franklin aimed to educate young readers by sharing his life story. Franklin started writing his autobiography during a visit to Bishop Shipley's home in Twyford, Hampshire, England, in 1771. Then the initial autobiography release occurred in 1791, published in French at Paris. Despite its flaws, the French edition's popularity led to numerous reprints, including some in Germany, 2 in England, and another in France. Today, Benjamin Franklin's original autobiography manuscript is safely stored at Mr. Huntington's residence on Fifth Avenue and 57th Street in New York City. The autobiography has been widely reprinted in the United States and translated into European languages due to its enduring popularity. Franklin's narrative is artfully structured, much like a journalist's work, ensuring engaging storytelling. The autobiography's success can also be attributed to Franklin's concise and vivid writing style, which employs short sentences, simple language, relatable examples, and clever references. As one of the era's most skilled conversationalists, Franklin's life was certainly fascinating, diverse, and unconventional. In conclusion, Benjamin Franklin's autobiography is a unique blend of common sense and practical wisdom on living that recounts his remarkable life with a relatable human touch. Its enduring popularity is a testament to its engaging storytelling and concise writing style that appeals to readers worldwide. Chapter 1. Ancestry and Early Youth in Boston. Dear son, it brings me great joy to reflect upon the stories of our ancestors and share them with you. You may recall the efforts I made during my time in England to uncover our family history among the remaining relatives and even undertake a journey to do so. Now that I am retired in this countryside with a week of uninterrupted time ahead, I am sitting down to write about my life experiences for you. Having risen from poverty and obscurity, where I was born and raised to a place of wealth and some renown, and having experienced a good deal of happiness throughout my life, the strategies that helped me achieve this success with God's blessing are worth sharing. When contemplating my life's happiness, I have joked that if given the option to relive it, I would accept, despite the opportunity to correct past mistakes or alter unfortunate events for more favorable ones. Since a second chance at life is not feasible, the closest alternative is reflecting on and preserving memories of one's life through writing, thereby making them as long-lasting as possible. I intend to share my personal experiences and past deeds as an old man often does, hoping you will find value in learning about our family history. In this letter, I will share with you aspects of my father's personality and character, the wisdom he imparted upon me, and the impact it had on shaping who I am today. Through recounting the lessons learned from my youth and the experiences that molded my path in life, I hope to provide you with a greater understanding of our family's journey and the values we hold dear. As I share these stories with you, I do so with love and hope that they will bring warmth and comfort to your heart. Our past may not be perfect, but it is ours, and knowing where we come from can help us navigate our way forward. I look forward to sharing more about my life and the lives of those who came before me in future letters. Yours affectionately, Chapter 2. Beginning Life as a Printer. This narrative details the early life and professional journey of an individual who developed a passion for reading from a young age. With a focus on self-improvement through literature, this person navigated a path that led them from humble beginnings in their family's printing business to becoming a successful printer and writer themselves. Growing up with access to both theological texts and more secular works like Plutarch's Lives, The individual was inspired by the stories of great men and began to dream of achieving similarly significant things. Their natural curiosity and love for learning were further fueled by reading seminal works such as Daniel Defoe's An Essay on Projects and Richard Mather's Essays to Do Good. However, it wasn't just the books that shaped this person. Their environment played a critical role too. The individual found themselves drawn to printing, a profession that would allow them not only to work alongside their brother but also provide access to more books and opportunities for personal growth. As they worked in the printing house, the individual's interest in writing grew. Encouraged by his brother to compose ballads, these early attempts paved the way for a career in prose writing. The feedback from their father about their letter-writing skills further pushed them towards self-improvement through learning and honing their craft. The narrative details how this person navigated conflicts within their family and the printing business, eventually leading them to seek opportunities elsewhere. Moving to New York at age 17, this individual faced significant challenges, but remained steadfast in pursuing their dreams of becoming a successful printer and writer. Throughout the story, there are valuable lessons about perseverance, independence, and the power of education. Despite facing numerous obstacles and setbacks, the individual's love for learning and reading continued to drive them forward, eventually leading to personal and professional fulfillment. This narrative serves as inspiration for those who believe in the transformative power of knowledge and who dare to chase their dreams against all odds. Chapter 3. Arrival in Philadelphia. This chapter details the author's journey from Boston to Philadelphia and his initial experiences in the latter city. Having lost interest in a seafaring career, the author decides to pursue work as a printer instead. Upon reaching out to Mr. William Bradford, the first printer in Pennsylvania, he is advised to travel to Philadelphia, where Bradford's son is seeking a replacement for the recently deceased Aquila Rose. The journey from Boston to Philadelphia is filled with challenges and adventures. The author sets off on a boat towards Amboy, planning to have his belongings follow him by sea. During this tumultuous journey, a drunken Dutch passenger falls overboard but is successfully pulled back in by the author. Despite these initial setbacks, the author continues his journey on foot from Amboy to Burlington and then onwards to Philadelphia. Upon arrival, he is faced with the challenges of finding accommodation and sustenance while trying to secure employment. The author eventually finds work at Keimer's printing house despite the modest setup and limited understanding of the printing process by both Keimer and Bradford. As he settles into life in Philadelphia, he maintains contact with his friends and family back in Boston, but remains committed to his new career path as a printer. Chapter 4. First Visit to Boston. In this chapter, the author recounts his second trip to Boston, Massachusetts, after receiving encouragement from Governor William Keith. The governor, upon seeing a letter about the author's potential and age from Captain Holmes, expressed surprise at his youth but saw promise in him. He advised the author to establish a printing business in Philadelphia for success. Upon returning to Boston, the author finds out that Governor Keith had visited Keimer's shop while he was unaware, seeking him. The governor showed courtesy and complimented the author, urging him to get to know him better. He also discussed the potential of the author's business idea and assured him that he and Colonel French would use their influence to secure government contracts for him once he started his venture. Governor Keith offered to write a letter to the author's father explaining the benefits and promising to persuade him to support his decision to go into business. This led to the author deciding to return to Boston on the next available ship with the governor's letter of recommendation. However, they kept their plans a secret from Keimer, and the author continued working for him as usual. The governor occasionally invited the author to dine with him, which he considered an honor, and their conversations were characterized by warmth, familiarity, and friendliness. The journey was not smooth sailing as they hit a shoal, took on water, and faced strong winds. However, they managed to catch many code off Block Island during this ordeal. After arriving in Boston, the author reunited with his childhood friend Collins, who had developed a habit of heavy drinking and had gambled away his funds. The son of Bishop Burnet, then governor of New York, expressed interest in seeing the author after learning that one of his passengers had a large collection of books with him on board. The author visited the governor, but he was not able to join due to intoxication. This experience proved that the author's father was incorrect in thinking him too young to handle significant business matters. In the end, the author decided to wait for the annual ship Annis, which would take several months before sailing. He continued working with Keimer while worrying about the money Collins had taken from him and fearing an impending call from Vernon, though this did not happen for a few years. Chapter 5. Early Friends in Philadelphia. In this chapter, Benjamin Franklin details his early friendships and intellectual pursuits in Philadelphia. He describes his close relationship with printer James Keimer, whom he enjoyed debating with. Using the Socratic method, Franklin would skillfully guide their conversations to reveal Keimer's underlying assumptions. Keimer proposed they collaborate on establishing a new sect, but after discussing doctrines, Franklin suggested incorporating some of his own ideas. Franklin also mentions disagreeing with Keimer's religious practices, such as wearing his beard full length and observing the Sabbath. He was willing to compromise if Keimer adopted a plant-based diet. They agreed to try together, with a neighbor preparing their food according to a list of 40 dishes without animal products. However, Keimer struggled with the diet and eventually gave in to temptation by eating an entire roast pig. During this time, Franklin developed romantic feelings for Miss Reed, but her mother believed it wise to slow down their relationship due to Franklin's impending long voyage. His closest friends were Charles Osborne, Joseph Watson, and James Rolfe, all of whom shared a passion for reading. These men admired poetry and often took leisurely walks into the woods near Schuylkill on Sundays, sharing readings and engaging in discussions. Rolfe considered dedicating himself to studying poetry, but was dissuaded by Osborne, who believed he lacked talent and should focus on his original trade. The group decided each member would write an original piece for their next meeting to receive feedback and improve through mutual critique. However, when Rolfe shared his finished work with Franklin, he had procrastinated and didn't have anything prepared. Franklin praises Rolfe's piece, but decides to transcribe it in his own handwriting so it appears as if he wrote it himself. When Osborne reads Rolfe's work and compliments it, the others find this amusing. Franklin admits that while he appears indecisive and awkward with language in everyday conversation, his writing is remarkable. Despite efforts to discourage him, Rolfe persisted in writing verses until Pope helped him improve. Franklin elaborates on Watson and Osborne's lives, noting their deaths and how they were mourned by those who knew them. He also mentions Rolfe's later works, including Sawney, which viciously attacked Dr. Swift, Mr. Gay, and himself. Chapter 6. First Visit to London. The document details the author's experiences while living in London after leaving Philadelphia. The governor repeatedly postponed sending crucial letters to the author until it was too late for him to board the ship without them. During his time in London, the author encountered various challenges and made significant discoveries. He shared lodgings with a man named Ralph who intended to abandon his family and stay in America, but eventually decided not to return. The author's friend Denham informed him that Governor Keith was known for being unreliable, which explained why he didn't send the promised letters. Denham advised the author to focus on improving his trade skills among London's printers to enhance his prospects when returning to America. The author found work at Palmer's, a renowned printing house, where he remained for almost a year. Despite being diligent, he spent most of his earnings with Ralph on theater outings and other entertainment, depleting their funds until they barely had enough to get by. The author also got acquainted with a surgeon named Lyons, who brought him to Batson's coffee house where he met Dr. Pemberton. The author made significant progress in reading during this time. He faced challenges at work as some colleagues indulged in daily beer consumption, which led to financial problems. Despite these setbacks, the author remained frugal and managed to collect debts for his friends each Saturday night. His new landlady was a devout Roman Catholic who had initially planned to become a nun but returned to England and vowed to live like one. On a return journey at the request of a group whose curiosity Wygate had piqued, the author stripped and dove into the river, swimming from near Chelsea all the way to Blackfriars while performing various impressive feats that amazed his audience. Mr. Denham discouraged him from embarking on this trip and instead encouraged him to focus on returning home. Eventually, the opportunity to accompany Mr. Denham as he procured goods from various merchants and inspected their packing arose, which led the author to put away his printing work and return to America. The author's experiences in London were a mix of challenges, discoveries, and personal growth, all culminating in his decision to go back home. Chapter 7. Beginning Business in Philadelphia. The text describes the author's experiences working in various printing businesses in Philadelphia during the early 1700s. The author initially worked for Samuel Keimer, but left due to disagreements over pay and management style. However, he returned after being unable to find other employment. During his time with Keimer, he managed the printing business and trained staff, leading to increased efficiency. Keimer's financial struggles led him to propose a partnership with the author, which they considered before returning to work together on a paper money printing project in New Jersey. The author's intellectual development surpassed that of Keimer, leading to social interactions with more influential people. The author later partnered with Hugh Meredith and Edward Burroughs to establish his own printing business after settling scores with Keimer. Despite challenges, including financial difficulties and Meredith's poor work ethic, the partnership managed to secure official printer status for the Pennsylvania House. However, disagreements over managing the company led to Meredith's share being bought out by the author, who continued the business under his own name. The account emphasizes the importance of integrity and dedication in achieving success throughout the author's life. Chapter 8. Business Success and First Public Service. In the late 18th century, Benjamin Franklin faced a critical challenge in Philadelphia's economy. The depletion of paper money would lead to its depreciation and severely impact creditors. He advocated for increasing the amount of paper currency, arguing that it had previously contributed positively to trade, employment, and population growth. His pamphlet, The Nature and Necessity of a Paper Currency, received widespread support from the general public, but was met with resistance from wealthy communities fearing its depreciation. Franklin's contributions were recognized by friends in the House who hired him to print the currency. This opportunity allowed Franklin to settle his debt for the printing press through diligence and thrift, establishing himself as hardworking and prosperous. He eventually secured a lucrative contract to print Newcastle paper money and additional government work, further improving his financial status. Throughout this period, Franklin continued to advocate for public services such as libraries. In 1730, he proposed starting a public subscription library in Philadelphia, where subscribers would pool their book collections for consultation during meetings and borrowing at home. Despite initial challenges, the idea gained traction, leading to the establishment of the Philadelphia Library, which grew significantly over time. Franklin also recognized the importance of religion in people's lives and respected all faiths based on their moral focus. He contributed to building new places of worship and supported others financially, ensuring no one was refused assistance regardless of denomination. Although he rarely attended public worship services himself, Franklin understood the value they provided when conducted properly. In summary, this chapter highlights Benjamin Franklin's business success and his efforts in promoting public service initiatives during a time of economic challenge in Philadelphia. His work on advocating for increased paper currency, establishing libraries, and supporting various religious institutions showcases his commitment to fostering growth and well-being within his community. Chapter 9. Plan for Attaining Moral Perfection. The author embarked on an ambitious journey of achieving moral perfection, focusing on 13 essential virtues and developing them one at a time. Through self-reflection and maintaining a journal, the author tracked their progress in cultivating virtues such as temperance, silence, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, tranquility, humility, knowledge, and patience. The author's structured approach helped them stay committed to the cultivation of these virtues and led to personal growth and happiness. Although the author never achieved complete moral perfection, they found value in striving for it and attributed their long-lasting health and even temperament to the practice of temperance. However, life's responsibilities and unforeseen circumstances prevented the author from completing a planned book series on the art of virtue. The author also recognized the importance of virtuous individuals in society, particularly among the wealthy and powerful. They proposed forming the Society of the Free and Easy, a unified moral collective governed by rational principles, with each member demonstrating commitment through self-practice for 13 weeks before initiation. The author's optimism in bringing about significant change through focused effort remained undeterred. In summary, the story is a reflection on personal growth, the importance of virtues in achieving happiness and success, and the potential impact of a unified moral collective on society. The author's journey highlights the challenges and rewards of striving for excellence in one's own life while also considering the greater good. Chapter 10. Poor Richard's Almanac and Other Activities. Over the course of 25 years, Benjamin Franklin published Poor Richard's Almanac, which gained immense popularity across the province due to its informative and enjoyable content. The almanac reached widespread acclaim and influence, being reproduced in continental newspapers, printed on broadsides for posting in homes in Britain, and translated twice into French. Franklin viewed his newspaper as an opportunity to share knowledge and wisdom with others by regularly reprinting insightful excerpts from publications like The Spectator and other moral writings. He occasionally published original pieces presented at their junto gatherings, emphasizing the importance of moral character over intellectual prowess and highlighting the significance of making virtue a consistent habit. Franklin's management style was demonstrated through his interaction with the man who struggled with accounting for their partnership. After the man's death, his widow took over the business, providing Franklin with accurate financial records and maintaining precise quarterly accounts. This experience led him to advocate for the importance of business education for young women, as it would be more practical and beneficial in managing successful trading companies. The controversy surrounding Hemphel's sermons led Franklin to write several pamphlets in support of the preacher, despite his writings being borrowed from another source. Despite this, Franklin remained loyal to Hemphill. Franklin's curiosity in acquiring knowledge led him to develop a plan for each member of the junto to create a separate club similar to their exclusive group. The benefits included educating more young citizens, gathering insights on community sentiments, promoting personal interests and business, and amplifying influence in public affairs through spreading ideas across multiple clubs. Franklin's role as clerk of the General Assembly provided him with connections to members and secured lucrative contracts such as printing votes, laws, paper money, and occasional public tasks. He learned the value of returning kindness when a new member of Parliament initially opposed his reappointment, but later warmed up to Franklin after he borrowed a rare book from them. In 1737, Franklin accepted an offer from Colonel Spotswood to become the Philadelphia deputy postmaster after dismissing his previous employee due to negligence in accounting and rendering reports. This experience taught young professionals to be meticulous with accounts and timely remittances, as it is a powerful recommendation for future opportunities and increased business. Chapter 11. Interest in Public Affairs. The narrative recounts the journey of an individual who played a crucial role in shaping various aspects of early American life, particularly focusing on community matters, firefighting initiatives, and religious practices. The story begins with the protagonist addressing small issues within their community, leading them to delve deeper into larger societal concerns. One significant contribution was the proposal for a more equitable constable system, where individuals were paid proportionally to the value of the property they needed guarding. This idea garnered support from the junto group and laid the foundation for future legislative changes. The author also played a pivotal role in establishing firefighting companies, which eventually became essential in mitigating fire-related losses in Philadelphia. Moreover, the story highlights the impact of powerful oratory, as exemplified by Reverend George Whitefield's sermons that sparked religious fervor among Philadelphians. This led to the establishment of a meeting house open to all preachers, symbolizing tolerance and diversity in faith. The narrative also sheds light on Mr. Whitefield's compassionate efforts towards establishing orphanages in Georgia, highlighting the protagonist's initial skepticism but eventual support. The author's personal encounters with Mr. Whitefield underscore the power of oratory and written words in influencing societal perception. It is noted that Mr. Whitefield's writings sometimes worked against him, allowing critics to undermine his movement. This reflects a broader understanding of the complexities surrounding public discourse and its potential consequences. Through various business ventures, particularly in printing houses, the protagonist demonstrated an innate ability to facilitate financial growth and independence. These efforts contributed significantly to the economic development of several families across colonies. In summary, this narrative presents a historical account of an individual's journey through various societal roles, emphasizing community involvement, religious tolerance, firefighting initiatives, and business endeavors. The story is a testament to the power of collaborative efforts in driving positive change within early American society. Chapter 12. Defense of the Province. In 1743, faced with a lack of militia and college education, the author proposed establishing an academy overseen by Reverend Mr. Peters. The following year, he founded a philosophical society. Frustrated by the colony's defense weaknesses during wartime, he published Plain Truth, prompting widespread support for unity and protection. He declined becoming colonel, recommending respected individual Lawrence instead. To raise funds, he proposed lotteries, purchased cannons from Boston, and successfully negotiated with New York Governor Clinton. While some believed his involvement in such matters would alienate certain groups, the author maintained a consistent principle, never seeking, refusing, or resigning from office. His findings revealed that despite opposing aggressive wars, many were supportive of defensive measures. The company's split resulted in over 1,200 individuals involved, with around 10,000 total subscribers. He proposed an ambiguous project to Mr. Singh, a fire engine for the fire company, to avoid Quaker objections and unfair criticism like the Dunkers faced. To boost demand for Pennsylvania fireplaces, he authored a pamphlet detailing their advantages, impressing Governor Thomas, who offered him patent rights. However, the author declined, believing in sharing innovations freely rather than seeking exclusive control or financial gain. Throughout his lengthy time in the Assembly, where most presences were a Quaker majority, he witnessed them struggling to support military endeavors without compromising beliefs. His comment about buying a fire engine for their fire company revealed his understanding of indirect methods to get around opposition. Chapter 13. Public Services and Duties. In 1749, Benjamin Franklin published proposals relating to the education of youth in Pennsylvania, a pamphlet aimed at establishing an academy for young people. By distributing the proposals freely among community leaders and launching a subscription campaign, Franklin collected a substantial sum of around $5,000 to fund the academy's opening and operation. To ensure fairness in the selection of trustees, representatives from all major denominations were equally represented. As the project leader, Franklin oversaw the procurement of materials, construction supervision, and negotiation with both the building and academy's trustees. This project did not interfere with his personal business at the time, as he had partnered with Mr. David Hall to manage his printing office. In 1751, Franklin became involved in the establishment of a hospital in Philadelphia, initiated by Dr. Thomas Bond. Alongside Bond, Franklin actively worked to gather backing for the project, which eventually led to the successful opening and funding of the institution. Around this time, Reverend Gilbert Tennant approached Franklin seeking assistance to raise funds for building a new church for his Presbyterian congregation. Advising Tennant to emphasize the benefits of their cause, he successfully collected a larger sum than expected, enabling the construction of the impressive meeting house in Philadelphia. Franklin also introduced a bill for city paving and street lighting in 1757, which was eventually passed after his departure for England. His contribution included suggesting design improvements over initial globe lamps from London, resulting in cleaner, more durable, and efficient street lamps. In London, Franklin observed that the dry streets were never swept, allowing light dust to linger. He proposed hiring watchmen to sweep up dust during dry seasons and remove mud at other times using flat, low-to-the-ground carts with lattice bottoms covered in straw. This observation led him to suggest practical improvements for city cleaning in both London and American towns. Franklin's involvement in various projects throughout his life demonstrated his commitment to education, healthcare, infrastructure, and community betterment. His innovative ideas and leadership skills played a crucial role in the establishment and improvement of numerous institutions that shaped the cities he lived in, leaving a lasting impact on society. Chapter 14. Albany Plan of Union. The Albany Plan of Union, conceived during the potential threat of war with France in 1754, aimed to establish a unified government among the American colonies. This ambitious plan was proposed by Thomas Penn's father, Sir William Penn, and presented at an assembly of colonial representatives and Six Nations chiefs convened in Albany. Sir William Penn's proposal outlined a structure for a general government comprising a president appointed and funded by the British Crown alongside a Grand Council selected by representatives from each colony's assembly. The plan was debated concurrently with Indian Affairs during the Congress, ultimately gaining unanimous approval to be forwarded to the Board of Trade and provincial assemblies. However, both parties rejected the plan. The assemblies considered it too monarchical, while the Board of Trade found it too democratic. This led to the development of an alternative scheme aiming for joint efforts by provincial governors, council members, and British Treasury support, with repayment via a future parliamentary tax on America. The rejection of Sir William Penn's original proposal had significant implications. Had the colonies united under this plan, they would have been strong enough to defend themselves without needing British troops, potentially avoiding the subsequent justification for taxing America and the ensuing bloodshed. This missed opportunity highlights how effective policies often emerge as responses to pressing circumstances rather than through deliberate planning. The Pennsylvania governor endorsed the plan, praising its clarity and thoughtful design, suggesting the Assembly thoroughly consider it. However, when Sir William Penn was away, a particular representative brought up the proposal for discussion, leading to its rejection without proper consideration. In conclusion, the Albany Plan of Union presented an innovative approach to unify the American colonies under a general government structure. Its ultimate rejection had far-reaching consequences that shaped the course of American history, emphasizing the importance of careful deliberation and foresight in policymaking. Chapter 15. Quarrels with the Proprietary Governors. In this chapter, the author describes the conflicts that arose during the tenure of Governor Morris, who succeeded Mr. Hamilton due to disputes over proprietary instruction. The author had advised Governor Morris to avoid disagreements with the Assembly for a comfortable administration. However, being an eloquent and skilled debater himself, Morris' debating tendency might have caused issues in the long run. Upon returning from Boston, the author found that the Assembly votes revealed an ongoing power struggle between the leader and the House, which persisted throughout Governor Morris' tenure. The author got entangled in this conflict as he was assigned to committees tasked with responding to Morris's speeches and messages. Despite the intense debate, no personal rift developed between them. One afternoon, the author met Benjamin Franklin on the street during a heated public dispute. Franklin invited him for dinner, where they shared jokes about supporting different groups without selling them. The disputes in the public sphere ultimately stemmed from the proprietors who would not allow any expenditures for the province's defense unless their vast personal properties were exempted from taxation. Later in the chapter, the author describes how he helped Mr. Quincy of Massachusetts Bay secure aid when they sought support for an attack on Crown Point. The Assembly agreed to provide Pev's 10,000 in provisions, but Governor Morris refused to sign the bill into law unless it included an exemption clause protecting the proprietary estate from taxation. The author proposed an alternative way to handle the matter without the governor's approval by issuing orders on the loan office trustee. The Assembly quickly agreed and printed these orders, which were quickly sold out as they served as payment for provisions and attracted investors seeking a secure asset that could be easily converted back into cash when needed. Through this success, Mr. Quincy expressed gratitude to the Assembly in a heartfelt address and thereafter maintained a warm friendship towards the author. The chapter highlights the conflicts during Governor Morris's tenure and how the author effectively resolved a significant matter by bypassing the governor's approval. Chapter 16. Braddock's Expedition. In response to a critical shortage of wagons and horses needed to sustain the British military campaign in North America, General Braddock entrusted Colonel Dunbar with the task of securing these essential resources from Maryland and Virginia. However, upon arriving at Fredericktown, Colonel Dunbar faced a significant challenge due to the lack of necessary supplies in the region. To address this crisis, Mr. A, an influential figure who had gained General Braddock's trust, took it upon himself to negotiate fair terms for hiring wagons and horses from local owners. His efforts led to the publication of an advertisement that not only secured the required number of vehicles, but also helped alleviate some financial burdens on the British Army by ensuring timely payment in case of loss. Despite Mr. A's best efforts, the campaign took a dramatic turn when General Braddock's army faced a devastating defeat near Duquesne. The enemy's surprise attack resulted in significant losses for the British forces, including the capture of all wagons, provisions, artillery, and supplies. This event underscored the critical importance of securing resources ahead of any military endeavor. In the aftermath of this setback, Mr. A faced additional challenges as he tried to navigate the complexities of wartime finance and politics. He successfully managed to secure funds from various sources, including contributions from wealthy individuals and landowners, which were instrumental in supporting the ongoing defense effort. However, the defeat at Duquesne had far-reaching implications for British military strategy in North America. It highlighted the importance of securing local support and resources through diplomacy and negotiation rather than relying solely on brute force. This lesson was not lost on those who witnessed the events unfold, and it would shape future strategies employed by both the British and their adversary. In conclusion, Mr. A's experiences during this period highlight the critical role played by individuals like him in navigating the complex challenges of wartime logistics and diplomacy. His efforts to secure resources for General Braddock's campaign were ultimately unsuccessful due to unforeseen circumstances on the battlefield. However, his story underscores the importance of flexibility, adaptability, and a willingness to learn from past mistakes when faced with adversity. These qualities will continue to be essential as conflicts evolve in an increasingly interconnected world. Chapter 17. Franklin's Defense of the Frontier. In response to threats from enemy forces plaguing the northwestern frontier, the governor tasked a reluctant executive with ensuring the safety of its residents by recruiting troops and constructing fortifications. Despite initial doubts about his suitability for military leadership, the executive accepted this challenge, leading to the establishment of several forts in the region. One such fort was built at Gnadenhutten, where a Moravian settlement had been raised by Indians. The community's resilience was evident as they adapted their homes and lives to survive under these new circumstances. However, the construction of the fort and its surrounding stockades required significant effort from all involved, highlighting the importance of keeping troops occupied with tasks to maintain morale. As the executive oversaw the completion of these fortifications, he faced further challenges in managing relationships within his community. His interactions with the Moravian settlers, as well as his dealings with local officials like Governor Denny, demonstrated his diplomatic skills and ability to navigate complex political landscapes. Ultimately, this period saw the executive grow both personally and professionally, learning valuable lessons about leadership, strategy, and human nature during these tumultuous times on the frontier. His experiences in managing fort construction projects, dealing with enemy threats, and navigating local politics all contributed to a greater understanding of how best to lead others through adversity. In doing so, he developed qualities that would serve him well throughout his tenure as executive: adaptability, resilience, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of those under his charge. These traits were not only essential during this period, but also helped shape his legacy as one who led with courage, compassion, and a keen understanding of what it took to unite people in times of crisis. Chapter 18. Scientific Experiments. In the mid-1700s, Benjamin Franklin embarked on a scientific journey that would change his life and impact the world. This chapter details how Franklin's reputation as a philosopher developed through his experiments with electricity. Franklin encountered electric experiments conducted by Dr. Spence in Boston, which ignited his interest. Upon returning to Philadelphia, he received a glass tube from Mr. Collinson of the Royal Society and became proficient in conducting electrical demonstrations. To share this passion, he had multiple tubes created at the local glassworks facility, enabling several friends to become skilled in performing experiments. One such friend was Mr. Kinnersley, who presented these demonstrations for financial compensation after Franklin crafted structured lectures for him. Kinnersley's presentations were well received and earned him a decent income as he traveled throughout the colonies. However, performing these experiments proved challenging in the West Indies due to the humid climate. Franklin maintained a correspondence with Mr. Collinson about their progress in testing the equipment through numerous letters detailing various experiments. Despite sending papers on the similarity between lightning and electricity, Franklin's work initially received ridicule from experts at the Royal Society. However, Dr. Fothergill deemed them too valuable to be ignored and suggested they be published. Franklin's papers ultimately expanded into a 4-volume set that had 5 editions and cost nothing for copying expenses. The publication upset Abbe Nolet, who disputed Franklin's experiments and conclusions in his book of letters. Franklin initially prepared a response, but decided not to send it, focusing instead on making new discoveries rather than debating past work. Franklin's book was translated into several languages and gained widespread acceptance among European philosophers. The successful outcome of an experiment conducted by Dalibard and Delort at Marly, drawing lightning from clouds, further propelled Franklin's recognition globally. Dr. Wright wrote to a friend at the Royal Society about the high regard his experiments were held in abroad and their surprise that they hadn't received more attention in England. In response, the Society re-examined previous letters, compiled a summary by Dr. Watson praising the writer's work, and presented Mr. Kenton with a 1753 gold medal of Sir Godfrey Copley. Chapter 19. Agent of Pennsylvania in London. In this executive summary, we explore the complex dynamics between the governor, Captain Denny, the assembly member, and the proprietors of a colony. The story unfolds against the backdrop of political tensions and governance issues within the colony. The new governor, Captain Denny, presents the assembly member with a medal from the Royal Society during an evening event hosted by the city. In his responses, the assembly member conveys that he is self-sufficient and doesn't require proprietary favors. He also emphasizes his commitment to supporting proposals that benefit the people regardless of his previous opposition to measures favoring the proprietors. As the story progresses, it becomes evident that there are significant disagreements between the governor and the assembly. The governor refuses to approve a bill granting the king pos 60,000, adhering strictly to his instructions from the proprietors. This leads to Lord Loudoun's arrival in Philadelphia with the aim of resolving these disputes. The assembly member presents various arguments on behalf of the assembly, while Governor Denny cites his instructions and the potential ruin that would ensue if he disobeyed them. However, it seems that the governor is willing to take a risk if advised to do so by Lord Loudoun. Throughout this time, there are several delays in the departure of packet ships, causing frustration among the passengers. One such delay leads to an experiment where Captain Kennedy admits defeat after initially doubting the ship's claimed speed of 13 miles per hour. The story also delves into a discussion between the assembly member and Lord Granville regarding their constitution and the king's instructions. Lord Granville expresses his opinion that the king's instructions are not casual guidelines, but carefully prepared by learned judges, debated in council, and signed by the king. Furthermore, there is a detailed account of how the assembly convinces Governor Denny to pass a law equally taxing the proprietor's land and the people's property. The proprietaries oppose this act, claiming it would harm their estate and leave them vulnerable to the people's wrath if left to determine taxes. The key point in this story revolves around the financial chaos that would ensue if the act was repealed, as sown 100,000 already printed for the king's use would be taken back from the people. Ultimately, Lord Mansfield supports the Assembly's position, and the law passes with some minor changes recommended for subsequent legislation. In conclusion, this executive summary presents a vivid portrayal of the political landscape in the colony, highlighting the complexities of governance, the tensions between different factions, and the ultimate resolution that ensures stability and financial order. I